Hello, hi. We are very, very sorry for being late. Thank you for watching our special noodle class for 18th time. Like we are doing the 18th class this time. And my name is Akira. I'm hosting this class, and it's my colleague Megumi. She's going to be making like really special, unique noodles today. And so thank you for watching. And I like today's class to be a bit different from like previous classes we've done. And so let's start the slide. And then, so we are going to be doing the lecture first, and then we're gonna do like a bit of like a noodle making on our noodle machine, and we are also going to do a bit of like a demonstration like in our kitchen too today. Um, so okay, so like as we've been all aware for the past several months, like we need to like shift our business to post-COVID-19 modes as fast as we can. So it's been really hard for on restaurant businesses like which are most of our customers. The ways people dine and eat changed dramatically. The psychology of consumers changed. Needs, wants, or even fears are different from like how they were several months ago. So we've been thinking hard about like how restaurant business should be, especially ones with a primary focus on noodles and other flood products. Today we are talking about parts of what we'd like to propose, some ideas, and then address and answer some of the questions or challenges faced by real restaurant operators. So like we're gonna share like some practical tips that you can take home and start applying right away. And so we are hoping like what we're talking about today in this class will help some of you in certain ways right away. So, but before we get into the class, let me talk a little bit about ourselves. Like for some of you like who don't know much about us. So we're in this business like of noodles for 45 years. We do noodle machines. They're designed for like small restaurants, udon, soba, basically Japanese noodles and ramen, and for small production. And we've been like running noodle schools on ramen, udon, and soba. We have a school here, like here in Kagawa. That's where our headquarters is. We have one in Tokyo, and so we've been teaching, people who want to start up their own noodle businesses, like restaurants, from scratch. And yes, so if you're interested in like tennis school learning more about Japanese noodles, feel free to explore more on our website. So we have customers. We have customers in using our machines in 61 countries. We have offices in Japan, including Tokyo. We have an office in Seoul, Korea. We have an office in Singapore. We have a location in Amsterdam, Netherlands, United States, and we also have like partners in different countries. So we basically are like a group of people like who are dedicated to success with our customers by providing training, noodle recipes, well, whatever they need to start offering, better products, better noodle, like flour products. So that's yes. So that's us. All right. So let's start talking about today's agenda. So first, I want to talk a little bit about certain changes restaurants may need to make to stay strong with the businesses. So this may involve changes to the current business operation, menu, products, customers, partners, and other things. Then I want to talk about some of the questions and challenges our customers and restaurants faced in their real operation. We hope to solve these issues so to improve the operations one by one. We then like to show a few types of noodles that signify uniqueness and localization, which I'll explain in more details later. We'll show a bit of like noodle making for production of these noodles done by Megumi. And some practical tips like we like to share in operation. For that to happen, like we'll move to our kitchen and do a bit of like demonstration that helps explain the practical tips. Then we'll do a Q&A session in the end, so please send us your questions in the comments. All right, so let's start talking about the first part of the lecture. And so there are certain, types of like noodle businesses out there. And then one of them is like restaurants and production, sale to like distribution. And then there's somewhere something in the middle, like hybrids. We call it hybrids. So restaurants sell their noodles in their dishes and menus, mainly in the form of complete dishes. That means noodles are cooked and ready to eat. This is done for both dining in takeaways and delivery business. During the time of COVID-19, restaurants are forced to do more of takeaways and deliveries, in which they may have to tweak their current dishes and recipes to suit their existing dishes to maintain the qualities for these businesses. For example, their noodle recipes need to be modified to last longer in hot soup. In short, they would have to adjust their dishes to optimize the qualities for different environments from dining in business. This may be quite challenging for certain restaurants. We'd like to address some of the challenges faced by restaurants later in this class. When talking about noodle businesses, there's other types of businesses where noodles and other related products, for example, soups, toppings, and probably side dishes, are manufactured and distributed. What may be different from restaurant businesses is that they are not engaged in the service aspect of the business. They just make and sell. Noodle factory, for example, manufactures a few types of fresh noodles in a mass quantity and distributes them. Because a noodle factory employs a large production equipment, which should be utilized as much as possible to make profits, is not so flexible in terms of responding to customers' needs. For example, to manufacture a small lot, say 100 servings per order of certain types of noodles requested by a small restaurant, it's kind of difficult for a noodle factory to handle. And launching and operating a large production facility is costly, and doing it carries a lot of risks. And we think that there's some business model that may strike somewhere in between. So production that provides some portion of the service aspect of the restaurant business, or restaurant business that can also manufacture and offer their food products that are sold at supermarkets or directly to consumers in the neighborhood. In case of a production facility to turn into this hybrid model, may be able to like devote a small section of their facility to accommodate customers who want to dine in and take away. Even though there may be a small investment necessary, for example, like noodle cookers for like soup stocks and other kitchen equipment, offering a chance for consumers to try their products in person helps sell their products to consumers who may not have tried their products yet. The production facility can also promote their products by offering them in cooked format. So this move may create a new B2C channel for their business. And a restaurant can start to offer noodles that are catered to local restaurant retailers like supermarkets and directly to consumers in close locations. For restaurant business to start offering competing products to the current offerings that may be similar in nature, if there's any, there may be some challenges. And then we think that biggest challenge is the packaging, the product package that's better suited for longer travels to customers. So noodle product package. So packaging means not just the container that holds the products, but also what's included in the package. So noodles, sauce/soup, toppings, side dishes, etc. So how complete a meal we want to and can make as a homemade package really depends on the capability of the restaurants. We may not have to manufacture everything from scratch by ourselves, but maybe able to work with others to bring the package to a more complete format. For example, you produce special broth that are your restaurant's signature, but not your own noodles. You can ask the other restaurant that manufacture high quality noodles for order of special noodles to be put together with the broth as a package for takeout, delivery, and meal kits. We have some questions about what kind of containers are suitable for takeout and delivery, and we'll address that later in the class. So not only like noodles, soup, toppings, but like you can also have like kind of some side dishes, like small eats, like a dumpling, bao dish, like items like rice bowl items. And you can also like offer like some like sweets And even like, you can do like drinks, like beverages, like homemade smoothies and teas and other things in the package. And we also think that branding is very, very important. It's going to be, even ever more important. The reputation you have built as a restaurant in your location should help establish a brand as a supplier of like noodle products that are high in value and quality. And of course, like brand reflects the quality value of the products and services. And it would be easier for you to sell your products if your brand has already been established and trusted by your customers in the local area. And we should start building our brands by developing and offering products your customers value highly and keep at it. And we have to know like what your local consumers value. And of course, like this is not brainer, right? But like, if there's a good population of people, like for a family of more than 3, should have a package that's catered to this segment of customers. If you have a quite number of like people for vegan, you may have to at least have like few selections of vegan products that beat the competition. And you also have to be unique. So developing unique products, noodle dishes that no one else offers in your market. For example, like using certain ingredients only available in your local markets, or employing a special production method that would not make much business sense to other people, other restaurants. For example, like resting dough for like 12 hours, etc. In short, I think being unique, high value, flexible, and responding to particular local needs are essential in building your brand. It's possible because of the small size and operation. And it's critical also to explain all these to your customers so that they'll know your product stories, uniqueness, and values. And this can be easily done through like nowadays, like through SNS and other channels. I've seen many of our customers are already doing it, and we should follow suit, but with our own uniqueness and stories. And localizing your products and services. And this may be like different from what it sounds like, but like ramen is something that's been localized to Japanese tastes and food cultures after it was introduced to Japan over 100 years ago from China. Ramen may be something relatively new to your customers, but like if so, it may take some efforts to educate your customers to get accustomed to the cuisine or develop ramen dishes that your customers accept as local foods. Or some other Chinese style noodles you can introduce to your customers. Because it's the time like when people can't travel or go enjoy other places even if they want to. We should offer something foreign and new, but appealing to your local customers and customer base. So using the local ingredients as much as possible, we need to localize these cuisines in your markets and neighborhood. We need to understand the characteristics of our markets, what they like, and break what's already popular in other places but not yet in your markets, or develop what you think your customers will love. You also need to like cherish your existing customers who will talk about you and your product via SNS and other media they use. This will help generate new customers for you. So for example, like we did a class on ramen previously. That's a mixed up like noodle dish with a small amount of sauce. And we think this dish is like very versatile, flexible, and customizable by changing each component, which are noodles, sauce, and toppings. And each component can be made of local ingredients but can carry foreign tastes and flavors. We've seen similar noodle dishes across the world, especially in Asia, like cooked noodles mixed up with a small amount of sauce, made with local seasonings, and toppings your local consumers love. So we can develop a variety of maze soba dishes by borrowing ideas from different noodle cuisines across the world to develop your own menu board just on this category. You should also find other people like, who may have something you don't have. For example, special seasoning, baldo, unique homemade noodles, containers, etc. in the neighborhood or close locations. We can work with them to create a unique package with these items and sell them from your restaurant. This way, we are also promoting their products. They can also promote you back. We can build a strong community where we can help each other and stay strong with the business. So this way, we are building strong brand in the community and local markets. So all of these may allow us to stay strong during and come out stronger this tough time. And so these are customization ideas that we have, like in the measurement class, and so we can kind of, have like make all these like different components using local ingredients, seasonings, and make them like localize them, and then introduce them to your customers' local area. And of course, like some of you like already know this and like are moving towards this direction, but like, because we get inquiries and information from different parts of the world, we're hoping the information we have may help your business in some ways. The other things I want to say about this is that like we have to be proactive and swift in actions. We need to get ourselves to speed, constantly think of what can be done and act on what can we do now. We'll just have to keep at it and continue until things get better. So that's the first part of the lecture I had, and then I want to go through like some of the questions we have from real noodle restaurants. So the first question I have is, do noodles taste different depending on protein content? Should we choose what kind of noodles we serve to the customer's preference? So we assume this question regards to like all wheat-based noodles in general. So the taste of noodles itself does not really change when made from flours with different protein content ratios, except for strength of wheat flavors and smell. So basically, the higher the content, protein content, the longer the noodle textures retain after cooking. And soggy noodles, like soft noodles, don't really sound good, but like when noodles are served in a soup, noodles absorb the soup, right? So in a certain sense, the noodles hold or carry more soup, the soggy noodles. This definitely affects the taste when eating a soup noodle dish, because when you're eating noodles, you're also tasting the soup as well. So you don't want the noodles that get soggy fast, like losing al dente texture, or nor noodles that absorb no soup at all. Because like if we eat like noodles that don't absorb any soup, like we feel like tasting noodles and soups as completely separate foods. So we should strike a good balance. And this slide like kind of explains the how noodles get cooked and soggy. And so we are talking about the right balance we need to strike. I'm talking about is that like that one in the middle, like, so this is a cross section of noodles, and after we cook the noodles, the water like penetrates the noodles and then towards the core, and then we have some like raw part like that in the core, and then that's the texture that we're talking about, like kind of al dente texture. And after that, like over time, like it's the water like penetrates like towards core, and core like then the core part like kind of disappears like on the water, and so that's how the noodles get soggy. And we can control this noodle texture by change the cooking time, and of course like noodle size, like ingredients and hydration ratio of the noodles. So that's how we, and then so that's I think the like relationship like between like protein content and the noodle soup. So the next question I have is, how does the protein content change the noodle texture, bounciness, smoothness? So for example, like feeling of like noodles like going down your throat, the slimeness of noodle surface. And what is the slimeness of the noodle surface? That's another question. But it also affect the noodle texture, but how do they affect it? So bounciness, to answer this, like I need to explain this wheat flour. So the wheat flour like we use for like noodles are like this type. So like inside wheat flour, like there's a protein and starch and water. And what changes that like protein content, like how much protein is contained and how much starch is contained. The water remains like mostly the same. And so for the like hardest noodle, like so protein content like gives the hardness in the noodle texture. And the hardest flour we could have like in the market, like probably this bread flour. And then the softest flour we have in the market is cake flour. The cake flour is like probably around like 3%, 4%. And so 7% is like probably lowest that we use for noodles, and then that's for like udon noodles. And so bounciness and sliminess are characteristics of starch of wheat. So the higher the protein content, the less bouncy and slimy the noodle surface, because gluten structure develops to envelop the starch. And so this noodle texture is like kind of similar to pasta. And the less protein, the bouncier the noodle texture. It's kind of like similar to like udon noodle texture. And the sliminess may also come from the powder we use for dusting powder, because we use starch basically for dusting. Another question I have is, can you explain the relationship between protein content with noodles and soup? For example, what kind of soup goes well with the noodles with high protein? So the first thing we can think about is that the higher the protein, the harder the noodle texture. Thin noodles are physically weak in texture. So generally, we use flour with the high protein content to make it hard. On the other hand, like thick noodles physically give strong texture. If we make thick noodles with flour with high protein content, we end up making noodles that are thick and hard. And this noodle gives poor texture because it's hard to eat and takes a long time to cook. So we use flour with low protein content to make thick noodles, like dipping noodles on this chart. And thinking about, and then we use thinking about like relationship between like thickness of noodles and soup. So thin noodles, so high protein, like tonkotsu ramen, like this green circle, do not go well with miso ramen. And thick noodles, like low protein, like dipping noodles, do not go well with the tonkotsu soup. But like, of course, like these are just the patterns of like existing or prevailing dishes that we currently see in the markets. So there can be exceptions and variations. Because a bowl of tonkotsu udon noodle soup is popular at some udon specialty shops in the United States and other countries. So you should be able to make an exceptional match that becomes popular in your country. Well, I'm not sure like if I answered the question, but like this. So what is a good combination of relationship between wavy, straight noodles and protein content flours used to make the noodles? So I think there's rather than like relationship between like wavy straight noodles, protein content flours, but I think there's a stronger correlation between like hydration ratio and whether noodles are curly. So in general, like we see more of a curly noodles in high hydration noodles. So high hydration noodles for the size, like mid to thick, medium to thickness, thick, and a protein content like medium to low, like dipping noodles. So opposite with the curly noodles is small, like in low hydration noodles. Low hydration noodles are like, noodle size is thin, the protein content is high, like tonkotsu ramen, like the green circle. So this probably may be because like low hydration noodles are physically hard, not flexible, and making them curly may break the noodles. Yet, but like thick and high hydration noodles are more flexible and easier to be curled. So that may be why. So the harder, so the softer the noodles, like the more likely there's a wavy noodles. Another question I have, like, explain the relationship between protein content and kansi. So again, like going back to the chart, like higher the protein, the thinner the noodle size, lower the protein, the thicker the noodle size. Because potassium carbonate hardens and tightens the noodle texture, as you can see like in this slide. Kansi with the higher potassium carbonate ratio is better for thinner noodles, higher protein content. For thicker noodles, which is lower protein content, like softer noodles, we use sodium carbonate that softens the noodle texture. So depending on the noodle size, we use different ratios of potassium carbonate and sodium carbonate. So that was a question that I had for these slides, and then like I have other questions we need to answer, but like we'll answer them like later in the kitchen or like when we make noodles. Before we move on to the next thing, I want to talk a little bit about like benefits of homemade noodles, and then I've been talking about it like in previous classes, but like I hope you allow me to like spend a little bit of time on this. So if you're a restaurant like serving noodles, you have two options. You can buy noodles, you can make noodles. And if you buy noodles like Noodle Factory, like the one we talked about, the average price of like one fresh serving like fresh noodles, maybe like 50 cents in US dollars. If you make your own noodles, the cost of like making your own noodles maybe 20 cents per serving. That includes like labor, utility fees, like ingredient costs. So you're looking at like 50 to 60 in saving. And so like let's say like you sell like per serving. So like if you sell like 200 servings a day, like if you sell like 5,000 servings a month, so you know like how much you save, right? And of course like taking advantage of the low production cost, and then you can definitely make better noodles than what the Noodle Factory offers. So you can provide better noodles, better quality noodles at lower cost. And you can have total control over quality and what you can produce. And you know what's in there, right? Because you are the one who's making them. And you can provide more values to the customers. And again, like taking advantage of the low production cost, you can probably offer free noodles or like, give them like bigger serving size, like at the same price or something. And, customers would appreciate it and like keep going back to you for more. And you can create unique products. We talk about uniqueness, like you have to be unique, right, in your market. And it's very easy actually, for you to be able to like create, develop, and serve like unique products in market. And you can show your customers like how you make noodles from scratch. The customers are very curious, like as like how you make noodles from scratch. And this also serves as like an entertainment factor. And like they want to see, they want to watch you make your own noodles from scratch. And you can also make like a variety of products, not just noodles. Also, you can make a variety of noodles, fresh noodles, ramen, udon, soba, yakisoba, pasta, Chinese style noodles, of course. But you can also make a variety of other wheat flour products like gyoza skin, wonton skin, like a bao dough, and other things. And of course, like you can, offer like turn your noodles or like noodle products or like these products into sweets. And then you can sell in your package. You can put it in the package. And another thing is I want to talk about this is that like it doesn't take up much space to start up your own production of craft noodles and other noodle products. And so this setup is probably smallest that you can start with, and then it only takes up like 8.6 square meters. And you can do probably around like 500 servings in a day in a matter of like maybe like 6 hours or so. So that's very easy to start. Okay, so that's what I have for this lecture part. And then, but like before we go, I like to talk about this because so every class, like I know I've been talking about this, but because doing this online classes is great. It's a great opportunity for us to talk about all these things. But like what's bad about it is that like we can't let you guys try the noodles and like all the noodle dishes that we make during the class. So we feel really bad about it, but like we have these because we have these locations. If you're nearby, we try our best to like kind of make them available to you. So if you're interested in like tasting them, please feel free to contact us, and then we'll appreciate it. So okay, let's make some noodles, and today Megumi has like some unique noodles that she actually developed like yesterday, created yesterday, and so this is going to be very interesting. And so for the ingredients, we have like ramen flour, the protein content like around 11%, and we have water. And for the solid, we also have this red hot chili peppers powder, and we have salt and a kanshi. So these salt and kanshi go into the water because these need to be dissolved into the water like before we add to the flour, the solid. Right, so these are the ingredients, and right, let's get started. So first thing we do is of course like we have to make dough, and so we have this machine called like Richmond type 1 machine, and this machine is equipped with the mixer that can mix like 10 kilograms of solid at maximum. And the minimum batch is you can do like is 4 kilograms of solid. And of course, like on top of that, on top of the solid, you're adding the liquid. So this is a 4 kilogram batch because that's a minimum, and we're adding the liquid on top of it. So kanshi and salt being dissolved in the water. And the kanshi, we talked about it, like, kanshi is something we have to have for ramen noodles. So this is a ramen noodle that we are making, but like, and we again like talked about like different types of kanshi, or kanshi that has like varying like blending ratios of potassium carbonate and sodium carbonate. And potassium carbonate hardens the noodle texture, and it has this kind of kanshi smell to it. So she's adding the liquid, and then you see the holes, right? Like small holes, like on the lid of this mixer, and that's where this liquid is dripped through to the flour. So this way we can add the liquid a little by little to facilitate good hydration of dough, good hydration of flour. And but because of limited time, like we can't really keep watching the mixing. So she prepared the dough in advance. And by the way, like you see that like the dough is like put in a plastic bag, and that's how we do this process called like resting process, to kind of optimize the like dough condition, noodle texture. And so this is the dough that she made like previously, like with exactly the same ingredients that we just saw. And what she's doing now is like she's doing like rough forming dough, like so making a rough sheet of dough through a set of rollers. And this type of dough is called is categorized to be like kind of medium hydration ratio noodle. And medium hydration ratio noodle like means like that's a hydration ratio like between like 30% and like 38%. So 30% means, for example, like for 10 kilograms of flour, you're adding 3 kilograms of liquid to it. So that's what the 30% hydration ratio means. And you see the size of dough, like size of like crumbles of dough, right? It's not, well, it's big, like wet, but like not that big. And so based on this size of like crumbles, we set the roller gap differently. And for this type of dough, we set the roller gap right now to 1.5 millimeter, the roller gap. So the dough is going through this roller gap to be pressed and will turn into the sheet of dough, and but it's still like rough and like weak in structure. So like if we try to rip it, easily like gets ripped, and so it's still weak. So we still have like a process it to make it stronger, more firm. So after like we did the mixing, right? The chili pepper, the color of it was like kind of red, but like after making the dough, it's more like orange, right? It's more like orange than red. But like, and yeah, we're sorry that you can't smell this flavor of chili, but we are all smelling it right now, the chili flavor. And then after you cook the noodles, you can actually sense the flavor. You can actually taste the flavor. So it's this flavor and kind of like spiciness and hotness in the taste, they can taste. And yeah, after you cook the noodles, like the color can be like orange too, like more orange. And so the mixer stopped after 4 minutes, right? And then she's adding the rest of the liquid, and then mix it for 6 more minutes. So the total mixing time is 10 minutes for this medium hydration ratio noodle. And basically, the higher the hydration, the shorter the mixing time. And for example, like tsukeme noodles, like we talked a bit about, that's and then probably like maze soba noodles, that they belong to like high hydration ratio noodles, and the mixing time is like 5 minutes. But like if you're doing like tonkotsu ramen, the thin and hard noodle we talked about a little bit like in the chart, that belongs to the category called like low hydration ratio noodles. Like that's less than 30% hydration ratio, and the mixing time is 15 minutes. So the less hydration, the drier, the longer the mixing time, the longer we have to mix. So what she's doing right now is like it's combining process. So the dough sheet like we had right from the first round of sheeting is still pretty weak. So by compounding two separate sheets, like making two separate sheets and compounding them together like the rollers, we can make it firm. We can make it stronger. And you may be able to like see the surface of the dough sheet that's coming out through the rollers, and it's like surface maybe like smoother than the previous dough that's going in. And the other thing that we have to be careful about when using like this type of like powder, like chili, other things than beet flour, is that like the moisture level like these powders like tends to be like drier than the beet flour. So we would need to probably increase the hydration ratio like at least like few percentages to get sort of like the same sort of like a softness, like hardness, as you do like regular type of noodles. And then this is where it gets interesting, because like she has another dough that's basically has the spinach powder needed in them. And what she's doing now is like she's actually compounding these two dough sheets into one. to make kind of a holiday, kind of a Christmas color, kind of. It's like orange and green. So this is the second combining process. We usually do this combining process like twice. And so what she's clever is that like she did like first combining, right? And then for the second one, she's compounding two different dough into one to make like layers of different doughs. This is definitely for like color-wise for the holiday season. It's very suitable for holiday season that's coming. So. And then the other things that she did was that like she made like two different doughs like these types, and then after the mixing, so she mixed up like all these doughs, right, the crumbles of doughs, and then fed them to the rollers to make rough sheet of dough. So you can probably start from there too, and then that way the colors are more like sort of like mixed up. It's like marbles of like different colors, different like green and orange. So that's another idea that you may be able to do like. And of course, you can do all sorts of like different. You can try using different ingredients. This is just a coloring or flavoring. So you can do like black like squid ink, and like also you can do like other types of greens, like using like green tea, the spinach we did like the seaweed. And so after the second combine process, all we do is that we just have to thin it to the final thickness. And so like she's just thinning it, and now she's dusting it. Dusting powder we talked about, right? So like dusting powder, we use starch. But like we use like kind of special kind of processed starch that's made of like kind of certain types of like palm trees in Japan. But like it's very hard to like procure it like overseas. So we usually like substitute it with corn or like potato starch. It just has to like kind of keep dough from sticking. So, and again, like the sliminess of the noodle, like when you cook them, like this kind of gets slimy, right? So that may be from the starch of the noodles, that's wheat flour, or the starch from this dusting powder. And then some people actually like this sliminess because it kind of helps, especially like that's when it's served with like a light broth, light soup. It kind of helps carry the soup, and it makes makes the soup like a bit like viscous. So some people like it. So she's thinning it, like we have to thin it like gradually, because like if you thin it like kind of all at once, like kind of drastically, then that would like damage the gluten structure inside the dough. So we need to go gradually, like thin, little by little. So that's why like she's doing like kind of a few rounds of like sheeting till we get to the final thickness. So we had a question about, well, how long can we keep the noodles? For ramen noodles, like depending on the hydration ratio, because it contains the canned, right? So it's good for 7 to 10 days in refrigerator. For udon noodles, they last for 2 to 3 days. But like if you're doing like homemade noodles, udon, we can store the dough chunks that are after, that's gone through like second resting process. We can rest. We can actually freeze them, and then you can take it out and then sheet and cut them into noodles on the day we serve them. So for homemade noodles, like you have a choice of like kind of freezing the dough after that's gone through like a second resting process. For soba noodles, it's better to serve them on the day of making them because the essence of soba is, of course, it's the aroma of the buckwheat, and then aroma, the smell, like evaporates over time when exposed to the air. So we need to, if you want to store them, like they should be frozen. The noodles are easy to break, and then buckwheat aroma evaporate over time when exposed to the air. So, but it's better to sell them like in the way we make them. But like for storage, they're freezing. Right. So we're gonna cut this sheet of dough into noodle strands. So we use this kind of cutter. It's kind of like paper shredder, and the dough sheet like goes through the sliters in between, and comes out like noodles, comes out noodle strands, and of course like this, each group is going to be the width of the noodles, and thickness be controlled by the roller gap. Width for this kind of cutter, that's fixed. But like there are many types of many sizes with this kind of cutters. And that kind of cutter is actually used for, we talk about like high hydration noodles, like kind of softer texture, because it's thick. I mean, it's large in size, and so like basically like use it for like a tsukemen dipping noodles. But for this noodle, like kind of to make them interesting, she's making like kind of wide like flat noodles, so that it's thin, but like they're wide. See how the colors of noodle. It's like green and orange. It's kind of like celebratory colors, and that's very suitable for the season holiday season that's coming. And you can probably, I mean, this may be a hit during the Halloween too. So one side is green, the other side is orange, chili, pepper, and spinach powder. So I haven't tried them yet, so I don't know how the taste of the flavors going to be like when you bite into them, because it's got like chili flavor and spinach flavor at the same time. So and one thing we want to say is that like it's very easy and simple to make unique noodles like this. It's just up to your imagination, like creativity. So you just have to like think about what your local customers would love to try, and of course like they have to be good, like, but it's, you can have a bit of fun like creating these kind of noodles, and then appeal to your customers, and then you can send it out, like post it on like your Instagram. And if you have like a good customer base like through Instagram, well, posting something like this like would drive some sales, and then it's a so that first batch that she did, like from the crumbled dough, the chili powder, chili pepper noodles, was 2 kilograms, and the spinach one that she prepared was also 2 kilograms. So combining make this dough like 4 in total, 4 kilograms total. And so out of 4 plus the liquid, so she made about like 40 servings. So the spinach and like chili powder are something that are available in your area too. So you can definitely try to make these noodles, and then of course if you have better ideas on the ingredients in your markets that you want to try, you can definitely make, well, let's say more unique, more appealing noodles, or the gyoza skin that we talked about, like the bao dough, the other things. So this machine is very versatile, and then it's a lot of fun actually to do homemade noodles. So we had another question. How can we solve the problem where noodles get stuck together when storing them in a refrigerator? That's fresh noodles. So one thing is that we should dust noodles well, when thinning and cutting, right? So and for dusting powder, I talked about, we're gonna process the starch, and that's but difficult to procure overseas. So we usually substitute it with potato starch or corn starch. And when storing noodles, lay paper towel or cloth on the bottom, and line up noodles that we did already, and then lay another sheet of paper towel or cloth over the noodles. So this way, water drips from condensation that may happen inside the container, absorbed in the paper or cloth, and that prevents noodles from sticking. And so that's the question and answer. Okay. So let's go to kitchen, and then we have our instructors waiting. So this is our kitchen. This is where we do ramen school, udon school, soba school. We have exactly the same facility in Tokyo, and we have kind of small version of it in Singapore. Because of COVID-19, it's been kind of tough for us to conduct normal classes, but like we started doing it like here in Kagawa and Tokyo, and hopefully the restrictions on the like entry of the country like would be lifted like pretty soon, and like you guys will like come join us for the class. And then let me just spend a little bit about the equipment, the facility we have over here. So we are like noodle. So these induction cookers, like electric induction cookers, we have. These are big ones, and like 10 of them. And each induction cooker would be like cooking different ingredients. Like for example, pork bone, pork backbone, like pork thighs, pork backbone with a pork head, like for Hakata broth and something, whole chicken and stuff like that. So each part is cooking different ingredients so that students can taste how each ingredient tastes, right? So they can like, to reach their own like recipes, they can put them together, right? They can blend them at different ratios to reach their own recipes. And we're gonna have like the sauce, the tare, 20, 30 different types, like each class, like, we make them from scratch. And flavored oils, different types. So we basically like make like everything from scratch, right? And the students can come here and they like, play around with different components to, reach their own recipes. And they also can work with like, other students who have like, work on like other types of like noodles, like ramen dishes and other things. So it's, and you guys can share some of the recipes and know-hows. And so it's very, it's a lot of fun. Yeah, so, we hope like you guys will like join us soon. And then it's a bit too early maybe, but like, we are preparing and working on like kind of online courses that may substitute like some of the classes, the curriculum that we do, like real classes, real courses. So stay tuned, and like, we hope to be able to like kind of, give you guys a good news pretty soon. So today we have Mr. Takeuchi, they call him Thomas. So he's a native speaker of English, and he has a background in Japanese cuisine. And so he's, I'd like to have him like, to teach us like some of the practice tips. And he has something like kind of interesting to show you guys. So I'll pass it to Thomas.
Hey, thank you, Akira. Once again, my name is Thomas. I'm one of the instructors at the Yamato Noodle School. And today I will be showing you some of the practical tips that might help your noodle business in this hard time, okay? So one of the big topic is takeout menus. And when you talk about takeout menus, first I want to talk about some of the takeout containers. This is only some of the few takeout containers out in the market, but I want to share with you some of these. Okay, so first we have here is a paper takeout containers. These are great for soupless noodle dishes. For example, yakisoba and mazemen, so soupless ramen. Those are great for these paper containers. And these are great because it's eco-friendly compared to those plastic containers. So that's a great thing about using paper to-go containers. Okay, so I'm pretty sure you've seen these type of paper containers, but this one is interesting. Okay, so I'm pretty sure you've seen some shape like this, but this one, when you're about to eat it, you can open it up so it's easier to eat. Okay, so for example, let's say you order mazemen, and it also has an inner lid as well. You can put the toppings in the inner lid, so it keeps the topping and the noodles separate. So keeps the noodles separate, and just take the inner lid out, and you open the container, and just dump the toppings and mix it up, and you just eat it. So this is one of the pretty interesting containers out there. Okay, well, obviously you can't have any soup in here. You can't hold any hot ramen soup in here, so that's one of the problems. Okay. So next, here are some of the plastic takeout container options. So this is you often see some yakisoba in here, in these rectangular plastic containers, and this clear takeout container often have some chilled noodle dishes. For example, hiyashi chuka. So that's cold Chinese noodles. And you can also have the sauce separate. So you can keep the sauce and the noodles separate to keep the noodles from not getting soggy. And this one is a pretty common type of container used for ramen. Obviously, because it's plastic, you can hold the hot soup in here, and you need some certain depth to it if you want to serve some hot soup ramen. So it's important to find the appropriate to-go containers when you're thinking about your takeout menu. Okay, so here are just some of the takeout containers out there in the market. Okay, and next I want to talk about how to prepare your noodles when you're preparing your takeout noodle dish. So let's go over to the boiling machine. Okay, so if you're when you're preparing your takeout noodle dish, it's important to wash the noodles after you boil and chill them and coat it with oil. Because one of the problem with takeout noodle dish, the noodles usually clump up together and it's hard to eat, and the noodle is like soggy as well, soggy and soft. So you never want some soggy noodles. So to prevent those two problems, what you need to do is wash and chill the noodles and coat it with oil. So let's give it a try. Okay, so first, I want to boil these noodles. I'm using these wavy noodles. The boiling time should be around 2 minutes. Okay. And after we boil the noodles, you just dump the boiled noodles into this strainer and wash to remove the starch around the noodles. The starch is gonna usually brings the noodles together and clump them up. So you have to remove all the starch and also chill the noodles, because when the noodles are hot, it's gonna soak up more water. It's gonna make the noodles soggy. So make sure to chill the noodles. And lastly, you want to coat the noodles with oil. That's gonna prevent the noodles from sticking back together. And also it's gonna be like a guard from the noodles soaking up the water again. Okay, and here's the example. Okay, so this one, I just boiled the noodles and just dumped it into the takeout container. Okay, it's like one whole clump. You can't eat this. The noodle's soggy, so I don't recommend this. But this one, after I boiled the noodles, I washed it and chilled it and coated it with oil. The noodles are separate, and the noodles are not soggy as well. I boiled this around 30 minutes ago. So it makes a big difference by how you prepare your noodles for your takeout dish. Okay, so 30 more seconds with the noodles. Okay, the noodles are ready. I'm going to dump the boiled noodles into the strainer. And you have to wash the noodles. The water's a little dirty from the starch, so I'm just gonna throw that dirty water away and then wash it with the new water. You should wash your noodles at least twice. Okay, so the noodles, the starch is removed and it's nicely chilled. So now I want to put the noodle into the bowl. And you can use just vegetable oil, or you can use flavored oil that you use for your ramen, maybe some garlic oil or some leek oil. And just coat the noodles with oil. And that's going to prevent the noodles from sticking back together again. And place it into the takeout container. Okay. So the noodles should be prepared like this. And make sure to have the liquid separate. So for example, if you have that ramen soup or mazemen sauce, make sure to have it on the side so the noodles won't soak up the liquid and become soggy again. Okay, so that's how to prepare your takeout noodle dish. So next, I want to talk about another way to serve your takeout menu. This product is sold at our sister company, Sansho. We produce and sell noodles as well. And this one is kind of like a meal kit. So it's packaged with some raw noodles and a packet instant soup. So this one is Tokyo Shoyu Ramen. And this was Hakata Tonkotsu Ramen. And this one is Yokohama Tsukemen. Right? So one of the problems with takeout menu is that the noodle dish often gets like cold and the noodles are soggy. So if you serve your customers like this, if you just give them raw noodles, they can boil it at home and they can have freshly hot ramen at home. Okay. So let's just give it. I'm gonna finish off one of these noodle kits. I'm gonna make the Hakata Tonkotsu Ramen. And by the way, these packet instant soup, it's just like one that's bought. So, and you just package it with your homemade craft noodles. It's gonna become like a improved instant ramen, just boost up instant ramen. It's a little bit, it's better than those dried instant noodles. Okay, so let's give it a try. Okay. So first thing I want to do is put the packet instant soup into the bowl. And let's boil the noodles. This one's Hakata Tonkotsu noodles, so the boiling time should be around 30 seconds. And today I'm assuming that it's going to be boiled at home. I'll be showing you how to boil at home using like a pot. And while the noodles are boiling, I want to pour in this hot water into the bowl. Okay, noodles are ready. Just pick up the noodles with the strainer. Make sure to remove all that boiling water. It's going to dilute the soup, so take your time on completely removing the boiling water. And just mix the soup just in case it's still on the bottom. Put the noodle into the soup. And line up the noodles nicely. And I have some toppings. This is not sold with that meal kit, but it'll be great to package your meal kit with some homemade toppings as well. Right here, I have some pork chashu. Right? And soft-boiled egg. And some green onion. And some sesame. So just like this, by having those meal kits, you can have the customers have a hot, fresh ramen at home as well. Okay, so this is another option if you're thinking about a takeout or take-home dishes for your restaurant. Meal kit, just like this. Just package raw noodles and instant soup together. And make sure to have some instruction as well. Some people don't know how to boil the noodles or prepare the soup. Okay. And the third option, I wanted to show you frozen ramen. So this one is frozen ramen. So on the bottom, it has frozen soup and frozen boiled noodles and frozen toppings on top. So what you need to do is just put it into a pot and just heat it up. So it's easier than the meal kit because you don't need to prepare your hot water to boil and hot water for the soup. So this is another option. Okay, so let's give this a try as well. So I'm going to put the frozen ramen into the pan and I'm going to heat it up. These are great because honestly, when I'm at home, I'm too lazy to even prepare like a hot water to boil the noodles. For this, all you need to do is to have this pot and heat up the ramen, and you'll have a fresh hot ramen at home. Yeah, this will need some time to defrost the noodles. And for people that are thinking about making these frozen ramen, make sure to have boiled noodles instead of raw noodles because you can't cook the raw noodles enough in the stock. So make sure to fully cook the noodles and place it onto the soup and freeze it. Okay, this is going to take a little bit more time to defrost. So I want to show you some of the other noodle options that you can make with the noodle machine. Okay, so these thin ramen noodles, this is for Hakata Tonkotsu ramen. The characteristic is that it's very thin and usually low hydration noodles. So that means there's low amount of liquid into the dough. And it's perfect for Hakata tonkotsu ramen. And this one is tsukemen noodles. And because it's brown because it has some walnut paste mixed into the dough. And for tsukemen, it's usually high hydration, so there's a little bit more liquid mixed into the dough, which gives that silkiness and that chewiness. And the wavy noodles, these are made with that wavy attachment attached to that cutter. So it's not done by hand, it's done by the machine, that waviness. So if you want to make some wavy noodles, you can make it with the noodle machine as well. Okay, and the next, this one is interesting. Oh, by the way, the ramen is almost ready. So like this, the noodle is ready, and the toppings, and also have that black garlic oil on top as well. So these frozen ramen is another great option if you're thinking about your a takeout menu for your restaurant. The customer can all they need to do is prepare a pot and then heat up that frozen ramen to defrost and heat it up, and they'll have a fresh hot ramen at home. Okay. Okay, so let's get back to the noodles. This one, it's a mixture of green spinach dough and red pepper dough. So as you can see, this one side is green, which is spinach dough, and one side is red because of the red pepper dough. And the two dough is sandwiched together, so it gives us one side green, one side red. Or here's a gyoza skin that's marbled, okay, marble design with the red dough and green dough. This is made by mixing that dough clumps together, the red dough clumps and green dough clumps, and run it through the noodle machine, and it's going to give out this marble design. So this is another, this is a great thing about using the noodle machine. You can make these interesting noodle types rather than just a simple ramen noodles. Okay, so lastly, I want to talk about how to make your noodles translucent. So we get some questions how to make your noodles translucent. Okay. Okay, so this one, there's two points for you if you want to make your noodles translucent. One is to make your hydration level higher. So make sure to have a little bit more liquid mixed into the dough. That's going to make the noodles a little bit more translucent. And the second tip is to age the noodles for at least three days. Okay, so these ramen noodles, you can it'll last for over a week in the fridge. So just age the noodles for at least 3 days, and it's going to make your noodles a little bit more translucent. So let's just test it out. So this one, these two are exact same recipe, but this one is not aged. It was just made today, and this one is aged for 3 days. Okay, so let's give it a try. Okay, so by aging the noodles, what it does is that, so usually when the ramen noodles are just made, it has some air bubbles just stuck in that noodle dough. So what you want to do is you want to let the noodle age in the fridge. So that air bubbles in the dough will slowly be released, and eventually you're going to have that noodle dough, more dense noodle dough, and without any air bubbles, which gives that translucent look. Right? Okay, one more minute with the noodles. 今のところ質問とかですか？ないですか？ないです。Okay, the noodles are ready. So instead of soup, I'm going to put the noodles into this water. Might be hard to see, but the one on the right is a little bit more translucent than one on the left. So let's pick it up. See, this one is the noodles that is aged for 3 days. It's slightly translucent. And this one is just made. Okay. So once again, if you want to make your noodles translucent, make sure to bring up the hydration level up and also age the noodles for at least 3 days. It's going to allow the noodles to release all the air bubbles in the dough to make the noodles translucent. Okay, so that's about it from my side. So I'm going to pass it back to Akira.
Okay, thank you, Thomas. That was great. And so this was our first time like doing this kind of class, like based on some of the questions we got like from our noodle restaurant customers, and like having these questions, it's great because they help like shape our next classes. So if you have like certain areas like interest, maybe like some like real challenges that you're facing as a restaurant. These questions will help, like, the challenges that, we want to solve and, like come out this like tough time together, like stronger. So please send us some, some of the questions you might have, some of the challenges that you are facing as a restaurant, and that would really help us like shape our next classes. So we'd really appreciate it. And so we are going to be doing like this kind of class more like we want to make it like more valuable, helpful to you guys like as a business, like for your businesses. So please help us make these classes better. And then if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do so today. And we're going to be like broadcasting like more like information that's valuable to your businesses. So please. And so for those of you like who maybe may understand Chinese, so we have great news because we are doing online class like this for the first time in Chinese. So we have a school instructor like who's basically Chinese, and he's doing the class tomorrow. So if you're Chinese like interested in this kind of subject, like please join us tomorrow, and you can sign up for the class online in our website. So please do that. And thank you so much, guys, for watching. And then we'll hope to see you guys in the next class. So thank you, and bye. Bye-bye.